Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 454. I wanted to try out something a little different here, so I started with the white pieces with the move knight f3. This is the Reti opening. Now this game is kind of long, and there's not a whole lot of crucial turning points in it, so I may go over some parts of it kind of quickly. But well, let's take a look at the opening. c5 here is the third choice, if we back up. He can also play knight f6. That's kind of what I prefer to play, just waiting to see what white has in mind. Or d5. d5 would go into the Reti proper, where I get to play c4 and counterattack the center that way. But well, c5, the third choice, also an interesting and respectable way to play. Asking me if I want to play the English opening, but I'm still going for a Reti setup. So I go g3, knight c6, reasonable follow-up. Clamping down on this d4 square rather. I keep developing logically. He goes knight f6. What looks like, d5 maybe is the most principled way to play here, just going for a reverse queen's gambit type of position, or queen's pawn opening with the colors reversed. But knight f6, not a bad move. And you see, from the chess engine's perspective, this position is really about even. That's the thing with some of these offbeat openings like the Reti and even the English. You basically get an even game. There may be still some slight pull for white, but it's not immediately evident. And now c4 transposing into an English opening is the main move here. But I played d3, still with some other ideas. Maybe going for c4 and getting this good bishop on the log diagonal, sort of like a reverse dragon Sicilian, except he never played e5, but he plays it here. So I could go into the dragon right here with the colors reversed. Anyway, we're out of the opening book. Still about even. I castle here. And my opponent plays d5, getting all three of his pawns in the center. So I could push on with e4 immediately, trying to undermine the center, or with c4. Both those are reasonable moves, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to play here, so I played this move c3. Well, this prepares e4, and then if he pushes, I want to exchange. So I want to make sure there's at least one open line in the position. I don't like positions that are entirely closed. And it's interesting, the chess engine really likes black a lot here. This is typical of the these sort of King's Indian types of positions where I've given up a lot of space. King's Indian with colors reversed, I guess you could think of this. Black just has a big advantage in space, and my extra move doesn't count for much so far. I've made very modest moves, so yeah, probably black is better. Let's see. He plays bishop to e6, and I go knight bd2. Again, preparing e4 still. Queen to d7. The engine didn't like that. It liked bishop to e7 a little better. I think bishop e7 is a very logical way to play. Get the bishop out, castle. Queen to d7 prepares to exchange off my light-squared bishop. But I go with this e4 structure, and he plays d4. And now this bishop is not a particularly great piece, so there's no reason for black to want to trade it off. And so he rightfully refrains from trading. He takes back with the knight here first. Yeah, I was expecting him to take with the pawn. It looks like taking with the pawn is the way to go. And taking with the knight has some tactical problem, which I failed to exploit. Oh, you know what? He left his e-pawn undefended, so that was just a blunder. So this is one chance where I had to get an early advantage. That was my opponent's first mistake. But I missed that, and instead I traded off his knight. I was still focusing on these pawns and neglecting the fact that he left his e-pawn hanging. Always got to pay attention. Okay, so now he takes back with the c-pawn, and the engine is recommending that I push on with f4. This is a logical way to continue, trying to bust up the center and maybe open up a line for the bishop. I just keep developing my pieces. Knight f3, bishop to d6. So this is all good, but better for black. Bishop d2, rook c8. So, except for that one blunder, he hasn't been doing too badly. Rook c8. There was a better move here in queen b5. Queen b5 is an idea with the double attack. And it's difficult to defend both of those. I could play after queen b5. I can't play queen b3, which is the usual answer because his bishop is covering that square. So I have to play, after queen b5, I have to play queen b1. Kind of unfortunate. So he goes rook c8, missing that opportunity. I go rook c1. And he could still trade and, well, he just castles here. So this is okay. Still keeping an edge for black. I go queen e2, defending the pawn. And now queen b5, though, hitting the b pawn is a little bit embarrassing, and he plays it here, so he spotted the idea. And black is just a little bit better here. Let's see, I went b3. He goes a5 to undermine. What's the best way to follow up? Now the engine likes h6. So I guess there's no immediate win of material. It just likes black's position because of the extra space. And, well, I have a really bad bishop here. So, yeah, black should be doing fine. But, well, no immediate breakthrough. Bishop a3 is an idea coming in to harass my rook. And queen to a6, hitting the pawn. Okay, he plays a5, trying to undermine my queenside pawns. Also not a bad idea. I go knight g5, trying to get counterplay over here on his king side. I'm moving my pieces in this direction. Bishop to g4, harassing my queen. So I play f3 to kick it back. He goes to h5, and then drop my knight back to h3. The knight no longer has a great square, and it was probably going to get kicked pretty soon. And now, well, with the knight on h3, it actually supports the idea of f4 maybe. Okay, pushes on with a4, and now I go bishop g5. Ah, that's what I was doing. I was getting my knight out of the way so I could bring out the bishop. So now knight d7 is an interesting move from the chess engine. Knight d7, b takes a4. I'm not sure why this is so great. Let's check it out. Knight to d7, b takes a4. Okay, resolving the tension over here. Queen takes. And knight to f2. So bishop is maybe getting trapped here. f6 and bishop d2. And then I lose the pawn over here. Okay, so my pieces are a bit uncoordinated here, and he's taking advantage of that and winning the a pawn. Okay, let's back up. He didn't play that way. He played bishop e7, still keeping some slight edge. Bishop back here, unpinning his knight. I went knight f2 now. I guess there was no great square for the knight to go to except to f2. And now he takes. A takes b3. A takes. And he can just grab that pawn. But I wasn't too worried about this because I have the move rook b1 to chase the queen away and get his pawn. And I get some activity out of this. Let's see, does he choose the right... Oh, he comes in here to c2. Yeah, maybe not the best way to play it. There's no reason for him to trade queens here. Queen to a3 is the chess engine recommendation. Putting the queen on a dark square so it's in connection with the bishop, and also keeping pressure on the d3 pawn. I can still grab on b7, so I guess not a whole difference. But here, I mean, the big difference is the queens come off. Then I get the pawn back, and it's just a dead even position at this point. So he's given up his advantage by playing that way, I guess. Anyway, I go... I'm sorry, it's his turn. He goes bishop d8, trying to activate his bishop, maybe. I go g4, kicking his light-squared bishop. And h4. I'm going to just grab a bunch of space on the king side, maybe even trap his bishop if he allows. So he needs to kick back. He plays h6. I go bishop to c1. Knight to e8. Yes, I think we're coming up to that turning point on the game. Knight to e8 is already a bad move, huh? Knight to e8. And what's the best way to take advantage of it? Okay, I played bishop a3, the second choice here. h5, kicking his bishop, and then bishop a3 is even better. Yeah, I went bishop a3 immediately. That's the problem. He's trapped his rook. So that's why knight e8 is a bad move. It leaves this rook with no squares. So if he were to play a normal move, instead of knight e8, he could play bishop c7 or rook c7. Just bring his rook back, chase my rook away. That's a reasonable way to play. Bishop e7 blocks my rook and gives his other rook some scope. So those are both reasonable moves. Yeah, so knight e8 is just his mistake, blocking in his rook, and now I just attack it, and he's got nowhere to go. He blocks with the knight, but this must have been a miscalculation of some kind. It's better to give up the exchange than to give up a whole piece. Anyway, after this, I think there's not much happening the rest of the game, so I will go through it kind of quickly. He just tries to go for some counterplay. I mean, he could resign, but he wanted to play the game, and I didn't play the best moves here. I gave away that pawn for no particular reason. The engine once again is saying I should just push on with h5. So my advantage isn't as great as it should be, but I still keep the advantage the whole way through the rest of the game. And he tries to activate his rooks. I mean, this is a good thing to do if you are down in material. It's just go for an attack on the king, even sacrificing more material if necessary, because if you don't do anything, you're just going to lose in a matter of course. But anyway, I can adequately defend against all of these threats, so the game continues for a long time. And we get to this almost embarrassing situation at the end where I get a queen. There, I get my rook back in time to stop his pawn. But here, let's go forward. Fast forward to the situation at the end I was referring to. So we trade material. I managed to push my pawns forward, and with the bishop and pawns, it's an easy win. As long as it's not. Let's see. If it was a pawn over here, if I only had one pawn and it was over here and his king was in front of it, that's a draw. But other than that, this is a simple win. You just use the bishop to gain tempos and you push the pawn through. So just march forward with my king. I was even easier in this case because I was able to get my king in front of the pawn. And so I get a queen here. And let's see, the engine announces mate in 7. But it takes me a long time to mate him. This is the embarrassing part. So let's see. I do okay at first. I'm keeping a mate in 7. Oh, now we're down to a mate in 4. Starting with queen b3. Yeah, the bishop is protected. Queen b3 cuts off his king and forces it forward. Okay. Anyway, I maneuver my pieces in. Mate in 5. Oh, here, now there's a mate in 2. Let's see what this one is. Queen c3. The king only has one. Oh, this is nice. Sometimes I don't think of these ideas. You play the queen on c3. And it cuts off the king from this line. And these squares are all covered. So he only has one move. So this is a type of Zugzwang. There's only a single move for the king. It goes here. Sorry, let's go ahead and put the move on the board. The king goes here. And then the queen comes in mate. Very, very nice little mating pattern there. King can't escape. Okay, so I play some other moves. Chase the king around a little bit. And march my king in. Maintaining always a mate in some number of moves. And finally I get my king in position and I can mate with the queen and the king. Just have to be careful not to stalemate the guy. Sometimes the extra material is a hindrance because it takes away squares from the king. Anyway, not the most precise technical display at the end, but I did manage to win it. So anyway, leave any comments you have in the section below and I will see you again soon. Bye.